Stella lesson plan about major events and how they affect the story. So let's talk about something that affects the story. They're called major events and how they can change something that we read. It could make it happy or sad. So guys, I would like to know, have you ever been to a major event like a birthday party or a holiday, something that's either happy or sad? Well, I'm going to tell you how this doll is an important event. It may not seem like it because it's only a doll, but she's an important event in my life. So before we go on, what are some major events that you could tell me about? They could be happy or sad. Okay, so let me tell you how this doll is part of is a major event for me. When I was 7 years old, I was supposed to start first grade, which I was extremely excited about. I couldn't wait to start first grade. So, 1st of September comes around. That's when we start school. And my mom would not let me go to the first day of school or go to first grade. And I was so upset. I just couldn't believe it. It was like the biggest thing ever. I've been excited all year to go to first grade, and now I couldn't go. So I was not happy at all about that. Later that month, my mom told me why. It's because we were immigrating to the United States, and that we didn't have any more paperwork for me to go to school. Are you kidding? I was so scared. We were going to a new place. I didn't even know where that place was, but I just knew it was going to be different. And that, of course, made me scared. I wouldn't know the language. I wouldn't have any friends. How was I ever going to figure things out? So that whole time I was pretty much confused and scared. My parents went to Moscow to pick up some paperwork. While they were there, they bought me the doll you just saw. And when they came home, my mom gave me this doll. And for me, that was a huge thing. I love the doll since, first of all, it was a late birthday gift. But second of all, my mom said that, I could tell her anything. So now I wasn't so scared about going to a new place because I had this amazing doll and I was starting out a new adventure with my new friend. So it made me feel excited again about, going somewhere. So that's my story, and this is why this doll is a major event in herself. So guys, why do you think that even though it may not sound to you as a major event, how did things in the story that are major events like the first day of school, me going to a new place, and this doll change the story? Because each of these events change the story. For the first major event is the first day of school, where I was excited. And then my mom told me I couldn't go and I was sad. So it changed the story from something that was supposed to be happy story, the first day of school, how things went, to something that was not so happy. It was pretty much sad because I didn't get to go. And then another event happens. My mom tells me that we're going to a new country, so it changes the story again. From something that was sad, something that could be exciting, but for me it was scary. So it kind of also changes the story from me being, upset to being also confused and scared. And then there's another thing. My parents bring me this doll, which is a big event also for me as a child. Getting a present is, of course, exciting. So it's an event, big event for me. And all of a sudden, when my parents present me with this doll, it makes the whole thing of immigrating an adventure. So the story changes there from something scary and confusing to adventure with a new friend. So the story changes again. So you could see how each major event in the story changes it and affects how we feel. Okay, so what is a major event? Do you guys know what it means? Yeah, it's pretty much. It's something important that happens in somebody's life or something just very important, you know. So, in my story, we have a bunch of major events going on. It's hard to tell which one's a fact and which one's a major event. Well, the major event is the first day of school, the immigration, and me getting this doll. They all affect the story. So now we're gonna look at a book which is called The Keeping Quilt. And this story is very interesting. It, it's gonna show us how major events change the story and how an object is part of a major event. So, as you can see, the title is The Keeping Quilt. It's by Patricia Alicano, and it's a really nice book. So, I'm going to show you the first few pages, and then we'll discuss. So, here's the first picture, as you can see, and you can't really tell much by the picture. So, we need to read the story to know what's going on. So, it's going to say, my great grandma Anne came to America. She wore the same thick overcoat and big boots she had worn on the farm work, but her family weren't dirt farmers anymore. In New York City, her father worked with hauling a wagon to the everyone was in a hurry and was so crowded. Not like back home Russia, but all the same it was their home. And most of their neighbors were just like them. So, she's no longer home, but seems like her neighbors are, closer to her. Then we could see her. It looks, we can't really tell where she is either. But we know she's in New York now, which was, like, immigration was the major event in this book, the first major event that they immigrated. So now we're gonna read the next page. You can see her, I guess, in front of a building and her with a scarf, which is called a babushka, by the way, which is a very Russian word for scarf. So when Anne went to school, English sounded like pebbles dropping into a shell. Swish, swish. In 6 months, she was speaking English. Her parents also never learned, so she spoke English for them too. Well, learning English, I guess, could be considered a major event because it is. So let's go to the next page. We could read the rest of her story. Only thing she had left from Russia was a babushka and a dress. She liked to wear them and throw her babushka up in the air and down. So, see, there's an object that's part an important part in her life. Her, this was the only thing she had left. So let's go to the next page. After her dress was getting too small, her mother decided to make the dress into a quilt. Anna picked out some old clothing from a basket, her Uncle Vladimir's shirt, Aunt Hannah's nightdress, and an apron of Aunt Natasha. We'll make a quilt out of this, and Anna was going to help. Anna's mother invited neighbors, hood ladies. They all cut animals and flowers out of all the old clothes to make a quilt. On Friday night, Anna's mother would say the prayers that started the Sabbath. Sabbath is a holiday that we celebrate Friday night, Saturday night, every week. And you can see there's the quilt, and she uses a tablecloth for this event, important event, Shabbat, because it's a holiday, it's an important event, and the tablecloth is being used in this event, and it's a happy occasion, you know. So, and then we go to the next page, and it says, as you could see, the quilt is there again, but let's see what important event this is used for again. What important event happens in this part, and by this object is also part of a special event, just kind of like my doll. Anne grew up and fell in love with great grandpa Sasha. To show he wanted to be her husband, gave Anna a gold coin, a dried flower, and a piece of rock salt, all tied in a linen handkerchief. The gold was for wealth, flowers was for love, and they were engaged. So they're sitting on the quilt again, and they're just got engaged. Big event, but this plays a part in that special event. Then this really is important. As you could see, it's a wedding. Just by looking at pictures, you could tell it's a wedding. There's a bride and a groom, and people around, so you could tell what the major event is, just without reading the story. But let's read what it says anyway. Under the wedding huppah, this see this, it's a huppah. It's a canopy that's over the bride and groom, and you could see it's the same quilt as we've seen in the previous pages, but now it changed the story because now we're getting married. She promised each other and love, understanding after the wedding, and then the women celebrated separately. So, in the story, the women celebrate separately. But you'll see as we read this book on, it will change because the times will change and the event will stay the same, but time will change. So now that we have read the first few pages of the book and we looked at special events, we figured out that not only by reading, but by looking at pictures, we could tell what this major event is and how they change the story. Because let's say it was a quilt, just we're talking about just this quilt and didn't have anything to do with Anna or immigrating or why the quilt was made or what, you know, what major events occurred and, you know, what major events occurred in her life that led to the next event or, you know, and why the school was involved in these special events. We wouldn't know what the story was about. With this, we know that it's about a, a family that's from Russia. We know that they use this quilt for many different events. Maybe not all of them may be happy events like this one we'll find later in the book, but at least we know that it is part of an part of an important event. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great evening.